Waiting for next year.
It's the waitingfornextyear.com podcast. I'm your host, Dave Sterling. With me, favored guest, Andrew. How's it going?
Not too bad, Dave. How are you?
Pretty good. I wanted to have you on because, as you know, Browns minicamp's going on. We got the Andy Lee trade.
Yeah.
A lot going on down in Berea that I think we need to get into.
Well, it's always exciting when you get to this time of year, minicamp starting, and there's you get to watch guys work out in shorts, and you can figure out what kind of season we're going to have from that. And so
you're right. It's really time to figure out who's going to play what position.
Yeah. Well, I think
based on all of this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we want to get our definitive statements about all our absolutes in row, so we're ready to go.
We're lying, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about the Cavs because why would we talk about anything else? I'm sorry, Indians. Even if you were doing well right now, it's
which they're not
regular season, and you're not, and it's also the regular season. So it's been a good couple of days, huh?
Not too shabby. Considering where we were Thursday night, the series suddenly looks a little bit different today. It's kind of nice. I'm kind of enjoying this, and while I'm also hating it.
Yeah, the term I'm using is cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of people, and this isn't about any sort of, mythical curse or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have had too many people be too cocky at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, you know what? The numbers look good. We're playing well. But until like 5 minutes after we've received the trophy, then I will let it sink in because I still
you got to give it that 5-minute buffer just to make sure.
I don't want David Stern to bust in and declare the whole thing illegitimate, like he had been kidnapped and didn't really want to retire.
Well, yeah, I say David Stern turning heel and coming in and stealing the trophy and running away.
Right.
I mean, now that would be a maybe the top one on the montage of misery.
Yeah, exactly.
David Stern stealing the trophy when we thought we won a championship.
Yeah, so I'm still like, until I see triple zeros and then wait about 10 minutes, I'm still going to be not quite letting it sink in. But yeah, they're Deli Mania has gone national.
Dirty Deli Mania.
Right.
But, yeah. What a ride. I mean, okay, this whole season has been a ride for everybody involved with the Cavaliers in any way, from fans to players to front office to whatever. Like, I mean, this season has been nuts. But you look at the season that Dellavedova has had, playing a decent number of minutes this season and people being pissed about it. Cavs fans just ripping the guy all over Twitter. You couldn't watch a game without your timeline just being filled with people spewing all this vitriol towards Delhi, And
what is he doing in there?
Yeah, like, why is he playing? And he's terrible. He does nothing. He contributes nothing. And I'm not going to sit here and say he was playing well. I mean, he had a rough season. Trying to find his role on this team. It was a struggle for him, sure, but at the same time, it's funny to think about where that's where we started, and now we are at the point of the crowd chanting Delhi nonstop, and he has become one of the biggest Cleveland sports heroes of the moment. And then in between, he had the whole Dirty Delhi thing. You can't forget about that too, where all of a sudden everybody decided that they were going to call him a dirty player, which is nuts,
Yeah.
So he kind of had this whole roller coaster ride and all these twists and turns. But right now, I mean, it couldn't be going any better for him. He has completely disrupted Steph Curry, the MVP, the best player on the best team in the NBA, not just this year, but a lot of people would say this was the best team in recent memory, and some people are saying this is an all-time great NBA team, and there's Dirty Deli completely shutting the guy down, you know? It's pretty crazy. But I will say, as much as all of this is like totally insane and, on some level, I suppose, hard to believe, um, it I going into this, I told everybody I liked the way the Cavs match up against the Warriors. In the two games they played against them, the Cavs showed a lot of looks that were actually pretty effective at disrupting Curry and Thompson, and I really felt that they could replicate that and maybe even do it a little bit better. Um, without Kyrie in there, which, I'm not, I don't want you to extend that to me saying that the Cavs are better without Kyrie, because that's not even remotely the case. But I thought they could
Right.
operate this scheme of defense maybe a little bit better without him. So uh, I, I don't know. I like the way that they match up with them, and I think that they are going to be able to continue to disrupt them and cause them a lot of problems.
Well, I don't want people to go back and listen to my tape earlier in the season when we had all this discussion of Delhi and, well, it's not that important that we have this backup point
Yeah.
guard because if Kyrie's out, we don't have a chance anyway.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I was on the podcast with you. I believe my quote might have been something along the lines of, if Dellavedova is playing meaningful minutes in the NBA playoffs, then something has gone horribly wrong and it doesn't matter anyways. I'm pretty sure that was my quote.
I think we've all got stuff like that at this point too, and it's at this point despite the fact that I host a podcast and and have people look at me as some sort of authority. I'm just some dude. I don't know what's going to happen at this
Yeah.
point, you know,
Hmm.
and that's what I think is so great, despite a lot of professionalism that people here at WFNY have. I can get I like that I can get. Oh, my mind went blank. Um, I like that I can just be a fan,
Right.
and we'll leave it to Scott to be the professional one in the locker room. I'm gonna sit here and scream my head off and dance around and stuff.
Well, and that's always been the sort of funny thing is, we all are just fans, and when we started this website, I mean, Scott, Rick, and myself, we were just fans. Like we didn't know anything any different than anybody else, I don't think, other than maybe, we probably watched a little bit more than your average fan and paid closer attention because, we were all such passionate sports fans. But I found that through the years of doing the website, like originally, when I first started my own individual blog, I was spouting predictions left and right, and could throw out anything wacky that I wanted, and then I realized, like, oh, holy shit, I'm putting all of this on record. Like, people can go back and see what I said. And I realized, okay, I have to be a little bit more careful, and be a little bit more measured and put more thought into, any kind of predictions that I do. And so that's always been sort of the balance that I've tried to find. I take my basketball analysis seriously. And, I occasionally like to think that I know what I'm talking about, but at the end of the day, I am just a fan, and it's been, this whole Cavs season, I kind of pulled away from Twitter. I wasn't really on Twitter during the games anymore, and I kind of enjoyed it. I felt like I got to reconnect with, sort of just being a fan again. Even though I was, earlier in the season when I was doing the behind the box scores, I was still writing about it after the game, but it was like I got to be a fan for the whole game, and then, okay, turn that part of my brain off and turn on the analyst part of my brain,
Right.
and write about it. So it's fun to kind of have that balance between the two sides. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to any kind of predictions or anything like that, like, none of us, well, and it's not just us, none of the analysts know what they're talking
That
about. Like,
what that's the important thing to remember
yeah,
is any of even the most respected reporters, all they have a certain amount more access than we do,
Right.
but a lot of it is just their stuff they're coming up with.
That's right. And if anybody was good at predicting the outcome of games, they wouldn't be a reporter and an analyst. They'd be making all kinds of money betting on these games,
Right.
and they'd be sitting on a beach somewhere. Like that's it. And that's kind of the point of this whole thing is that, nobody, I don't care, like the best people, whether it be the best person at just analyzing the game from an X's and O standpoint, or the absolute brightest and smartest and best analytics guys. Like none of them absolutely know what's going to happen, and one of the things that I wrote about in the piece I had today was, at the end of the day, sports comes down to matchups. All those numbers and everything, they can tell you things about individual players. They can give you an idea about maybe how a team is constructed and what its strengths are and how the pieces are going to fit together. But when it comes down to a game between two teams, you can kind of throw all of that out the window especially because all of those stats came against different teams. Like the Warriors
Yeah.
have played, I forget what the number was. I think it was like, I don't know. I think it was like something like 100 games, and only two of them were against the Cavaliers going into the series. So they had like 98 games worth of stats against teams that aren't the Cavs. So all of those stats are meaningless because it doesn't do anything compared to how the Cavs match up against them.
And even at the games that they played against the Cavs,
right,
weren't against these Cavs.
Right, correct. Well,
Because
LeBron didn't play in one of the games, and and they they didn't play against a team with no Kyrie, no Kevin Love, and Matthew Dellavedova being the savior. Like they didn't play that team either.
Well, and that's where, like you said, some people are saying, "Oh, well, the stat was, I don't know if it's 80 or 85%. If it's 1-1, the team that goes up 2-1, 80% of the time wins." That doesn't have anything to do with a team that plays a 7-man rotation.
Right. It doesn't have...
after one night's rest, and the guy played so hard he put himself in the hospital overnight, and like that stat does not take into account this series.
Yeah, like all that stat does is tell you what's happened in the past, but it's not a predictor of what's going to happen in the future. And that's the thing. It's like, this will continue to come down to the matchups. And right now, the Cavs have the upper hand in terms of not just being up 2-1, but they're the ones who are more effective in doing something to disrupt and stop their opponent. Whereas Golden State has yet to find any answer for LeBron whatsoever. And, so it's up to Golden State. They're going to have to make an adjustment and find a way to make it work. And, if they don't do it, if they just keep trying to do the same thing, they're going to keep getting the same results. So that's where when I say I don't know what's going to happen, it's because I don't know what kind of adjustments. I have no idea what Steve Kerr is going to do. So it's impossible to predict. He might find the magic formula that breaks down this Cavalier defense. But until he does, the Cavaliers have the upper hand.
I do want to give credit to, this is something that I've always wanted, is that I believe our coach is a step ahead of theirs.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where I haven't felt this way, especially with the Cavs, in a long time. We were always the team adjusting to what the other team did, and it seems like every time Steve Kerr is adjusting the Warrior style of play, Blatt moves another piece on the board.
Yep.
And I almost think, and this is maybe just super, super over-optimistic homerism, but that little glimpse of David Lee and the run that they went on in the fourth quarter, this is the weirdest, dumbest analogy ever, but if you've seen the movie Ocean's 11,
yes,
they were planning to black out the city, and 2 days before they were planning on doing it, they inadvertently blacked out the city themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, oh crap, they just accidentally showed us their own secret formula
yeah,
in a game that they ultimately lost. Now we have the plans for that.
Yep.
And now we've got 48 hours to come up with, okay, here's what we do with David Lee. And we put in Mozgov and have him run the pick and roll or XYZ. I don't know what we would actually do,
Hmm.
but it gives us a chance to, okay, you intern, get me every bit of film you have on David Lee and let's watch it. And now all of a sudden you've got that adjustment pre-made to that. And it feels like for real, we've got a coach that's ahead and dictating, not reacting.
Yeah, I think he does a little bit of both. I do think, he he does react in the standpoint of when, whenever the Warriors make a little, well, not just the Warriors, but really any team that they've been playing in this postseason, whenever they would try a little wrinkle here and there, Blatt would react to it, and he's very quick to make a personnel adjustment. That tends to be the first thing he tries. Sometimes he'll change up the scheme a little bit, but he's always trying something, to sort of counteract it. But then he's really proactive, in between games, coming up with a game plan for the next game to do just the slightest little thing different, to force them to be uncomfortable. And that's something that we didn't see the Cavs doing a lot of that in the regular season. And I do think some of the criticism against Blatt was fair, to a degree. I think it took him a while to learn.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
NBA game was a little bit different, and so I can't kill people again for who were sort of down on Blatt early. Now I think people took it way too far and were extrapolating it, into something that it wasn't, and trying to find
Oh,
drama that didn't exist.
the people
Um,
calling for Blatt, people saying when we were deep in the playoffs that this is the best team that's ever going to fire its
yeah,
coach.
exactly.
Those people held on a bit too long,
Yeah,
but
and yeah, I want to. I can't remember who it was who reported that David Blatt was going to be fired even if the Cavs made it to the finals. I'm like, well, here we are. I wonder if that's still true. I kind of
yeah,
have a feeling it's not. But no, but David Blatt is proving to be an excellent, excellent basketball coach. He's he's known. He always just has this uncanny sort of sixth sense of exactly what the team needs, and and that goes back to even the bowling thing, and just understanding what his team and what they needed in that moment. Those are things that are hard to quantify when you talk about a coach, but that's something that that he's done very well. So I think that David Blatt has outcoached his opponent in every series so far, and that's pretty remarkable when you look at the coaches that the Cavs have gone through. I mean,
yeah.
they
It hasn't been a cakewalk.
Brad Stevens, considered, maybe the best young coach in the NBA. Tom Thibodeau, the defensive mastermind, the ultimate basketball mind. Then you had Coach Bud, the NBA Coach of the Year, and then you got Steve Kerr, who. So it's you look at all these coaches that they're going up against, in I think Blatt has outcoached all of them so far, and that's really a testament to him, and it is exciting to have when, because you're right, you think back to sort of the Mike Brown, and I'm the biggest Mike Brown apologist that you'll ever meet, but there were definitely times that the Cavs could not adjust or adapt on the fly in a game. So whenever
Right.
their opponents changed something up, especially at halftime, the Cavs had all those famous third quarter collapses when the opponents made a halftime adjustment and the Cavs couldn't counteract it. It's nice to be on the other side of that, to have a coach that does seem sort of one step ahead, and he doesn't panic at anything, and he's just he sees what Kerr is trying to do, and he makes his move to counteract it, and even the whole David Lee thing, I do think, like, I think people are maybe overreacting to it just a little bit. Because I think the Cavs will live with that. They'll live with
Yeah.
David Lee. The bottom line is a non-winded, relatively healthy Delvedova is going to continue to give Steph Curry problems. I really believe that.
And the farther you get into that game, the more he's going to get under his skin, and the more the series worth of frustration is
Yeah.
going to bubble up.
Yep. And if you look at game three, Curry didn't, Curry was trying to say, that he figured some things out in that fourth quarter. Well, I really feel like he got going when they switched Shumpert onto Curry because Delhi was just gassed and they had
Yeah.
to rest him for a little bit. So they decided to just move Shumpert over to Curry for a while. And look, Shumpert's a great defensive player, but he's not able to stay on Curry's hip in the same way that Delhi is. And Curry doesn't need much space. So as soon as he
Right.
saw just that tiniest little bit of space, he took it and he started knocking down some of those shots, and that's what he got going. He got some space, but I really think that Delhi's going to be up there and giving him problems. Now, maybe Steph Curry's a really great player and he's capable of having a game where he's just unconscious and just lights out, and that's the scary thing about this team. And going back to what we were saying earlier, that's sort of the things we can't predict.
Well, yeah, and that's where I wanted to get into the fact that we're sitting in a very good spot, but as I wrote down here, it's being so close but so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the breaks just need to go even at this point, but we still need to get our share of the breaks to make it work. And that means, winning tomorrow.
Yeah, for
then
sure.
you've got a game to play with. And a lot of people have been saying Cavs in 6 all along.
Mm-hmm.
I can really see it breaking that way, but I can also see Golden State knowing that their back's against the wall tomorrow.
Yep.
And 2-2 going back to Golden State, they have home court advantage again.
Yeah.
That's this little bit of optimism. Sports radio on Friday and Saturday goes nutso again if we don't win tomorrow. So again, you've got the advantage, you've got this good spot, you've been playing well, but that's why they play the games,
Yeah, the Cavs want no part of Game 7 in Golden State.
I want no part of that too.
That's probably going to be an awfully tall order. And that's why I was talking to one of my friends at work today. I said, if the Cavs win tomorrow and they move up, they're up 3-1. There's a small part of me that wishes that the Cavs would all right, they would get their private plane and they would fly out Hayward, Joe Harris, Kendrick Perkins, Matrix, and Mike Miller. Okay,
and just have them play the whole game.
Those 5. Well, you're gonna fly them out there, and they're gonna suit up, and then as soon as they throw the ball up to start the game, those 5 guys are just gonna sit down on the court and let Golden State score all they want. We're going to get the 5-second inbound call every time because we're not going to inbound it, and we're just going to sit there and relax. And the rest of the guys, all the starters and guys who are playing big minutes, they're resting in their comfortable homes, and we're going to put all of our eggs in that Game 6 basket and just go for it.
Yeah, that's I like this plan.
But that's where in all honesty though, being serious, you can't really do that. You gotta go for it in that Game 5. But that's where it's like, man, I can't believe we're only after Game 3. I feel like we've played 10 games already. And that's where it's like it feels like this championship is so close, but then you realize we're not even at the halfway point of the series.
Yeah, we've got half the wins we need, but
right.
Yeah,
but there's still potentially 4 more games of this yet to go. So you realize what a daunting task it is, and that's why you can't take anything for granted. And the Cavs are going to have to just keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, to me, that momentum is huge.
Yeah,
because even if you go back, if you're up 3-1, and you go back to Golden State. At that point, you might be able to deal the finishing blow in Golden State if 3 quarters in you build that 20-point lead again.
Yep.
I don't know that down 3-1 you get that spurt at the end, but
you look at
all of a sudden they come back 3-2 and are on their way back to Cleveland, that little spark of life, as Austin Carr would say, you don't let them hang around.
Yeah. Well, you look at that's what the Spurs did to the Heat last year. They just, they put them away, and by the end of that game five, the Heat were done. They had no interest in playing anymore, and uh, that's sort of in a perfect world, that's what I'd love to see. I've heard so many people say, "Oh man, I just want them to win it in Cleveland." That's great, but
We shouldn't be choosy about our championships.
exactly. I want them to win it in game five. I do not want them to lose any more games. I don't want any hint of momentum going Golden State's way. Like, just win these next two games, and and give us our 10-minute buffer afterwards to make sure it's safe, and
Yep, that
let's
no one has
celebrate.
stolen the trophy. Yes. And also, I can afford the $5 watch party ticket.
Well,
It does not look like I could afford a Game 6 ticket.
yeah, there's a little bit of a price difference between those two games. Yeah, I had a buddy who we had talked about going to game four, and we were going to get tickets. And I was on vacation last week, and so he started looking into tickets. And he told me what kind of prices the tickets were going for, and I was like, all right, well, have a good time. Like I thought about it for about I thought about it for about 5-10 minutes, but I couldn't do it. I just you know I don't know. I guess I had to be responsible about it, but
Yeah, I've set some limits for myself. I don't know what they are yet,
yeah.
but I've kind of said, you know what, if I can get a certain price and we're up 3-2 and it's game 6 and it's under this price,
Hmm.
I don't think I would miss it.
Yeah.
I doubt it would happen at that price at this
Right.
point,
Yeah.
but I think I'd be willing to, forego a birthday present or some other thing around the house that I
Right.
wanted
Yeah.
to go and be there. But at this point, if we get to that and I don't get tickets, if game 6 comes back to Cleveland or even game 5, if we have the chance to close out in either of those games,
Hmm.
I think I want to be in downtown Cleveland anyway,
Oh man,
whether I'm in the building or not.
the watch party for Game Five, if the Cavs win Game Four, what an environment that will be inside that arena.
Yeah,
For a watch party, but it will be an amazing environment. And yeah, that's where it sucks. It sucks for me a little bit. Living in Columbus, I but I'm like I'm already starting to kind of think ahead and trying to figure out how I can plan this out. Like when you don't know what game the Cavs are going to close out on, like I wish they could just tell me somehow, or or I wish I was the guy able to live on the beach because I could predict everything correctly. But because I want to be in Cleveland when this happens, but it's tough because I can't. I just got done with a week vacation. I can't take another week off to
yeah.
cover all the potential closeout games that we could possibly have. So
And also, you don't want to feel like you're part of the jinx that you count your
that's
chickens
right.
before they hatch, and I want to be up there.
That's right.
Again, I still don't know that I'm not going to see David Stern slink down a rope in the middle of the arena, grab the trophy, and drive away.
Exactly. You just don't know. Um, but yeah, so yeah, it's tough. And yeah, like in terms of the jinx and all of that too. Like it's weird feeling this like confidence. I feel like I don't know how to handle that as a Cleveland fan, but um,
Me too.
but I have a little bit of confidence. Like I feel good about the way the Cavs are playing them. Like it's kind of going the way I thought, maybe it could go. Now I didn't foresee, Kyrie getting hurt or anything like that, but that certainly makes it a lot more difficult. But I still think the Cavs are doing the things that they need to do um, to give themselves a better chance to win. But like I look back at 2009 when the Cavs made the run. They were on their tear, getting into that Orlando series, and waiting for next year. We had said we at the very beginning of the playoffs, we said we've always, as Cleveland fans, been scared. Like we always play scared. Like, oh man, we can't talk about winning. We can't embrace the success. Like we have to prepare for the worst and just, be happy if it actually happens. And I had made the decision. I said, you know what? Forget that. We're not doing that this time. Like we have the best player in the world. We're the best team in the NBA. We won 66 games. Um, I we're going to win the NBA championship. So I made a custom banner at the beginning of the playoffs that we put at the top of the site that had the NBA trophy, and then it had like the number 16 beside it. In every game the Cavs won, I changed that banner up and reduced that number by one, and it counted down. And it looked pretty great when we got that number down to 8, and then we ran into that Orlando series. And when the Cavs lost that series, I got so much hell from our readers. How dare you? It's your fault. You jinxed it. And so now this time I find myself like I still don't want to be that like scared fan. Like I want to enjoy this and have and relish in this confidence and saying, look, like the Cavs have LeBron freaking James. Like we have the best player in the world in the absolute meat of his prime, doing the most unbelievable things we've ever seen in NBA history in the NBA Finals, and we're still supposed to be scared. Like
Right.
I don't know how to handle all these thoughts and feelings, and the sleep deprivation that goes with these late games. Is sort of playing with all these emotions. I think we're all a little bit emotionally hyped, anyways, from sleep deprivation. Yeah, I just don't know how to feel about all this.
The sleep deprivation has been more of a factor than I thought, and I was worried about it. I was on record as saying that I didn't know how I was going to do it. Um, but it is a real thing. It's tough for me at this point. You were on vacation last week. I was traveling for work. So Friday night last week, I came home from the West Coast on a red eye. So kind of got 4 hours sleepish that day. Saturday got kind of normal sleep. Sunday got about 4 hours, maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
Normal sleep Monday, 4.5 last night. It's just, and I understand Matthew Dellavedova went to the hospital because his whole body seized up. But let's think of the real sacrifice that we're making.
we're, we're laying it all on the line for this team. We are all in. We're all in our lack of sleep. But no, I mean you're right. Like, and what's funny is so Monday was actually the last day of my vacation. So I stayed up a little too late because I had that. Like normally, like you were like, oh man, I better go to bed early because I'm starting the work week again on Tuesday. But for me, it was I'm clinging to every last minute of this vacation. Like if I
Yeah.
can extend it by not going to bed, I'm gonna do that. And so I didn't get much sleep Monday, and then uh, last night I got like something like 3 hours of sleep because and that's the other thing too. When the Cavs win, I can't just go to bed.
Yeah, you're not just going to put your head on the pillow
No,
and
like I'm so jacked up and I want to see what everybody's saying about it. I'm glued to Twitter and Facebook and, reading all these websites. I've got my TV on. I'm following the post-game press conferences. Like I want to see what everybody has to say. And then Sports Center tells me, oh, hey, we're going to have LeBron on the set with Wade. Well,
right.
shit, now I got to stay up for
I'm not
that.
going to bed for that. Yeah.
Like I'm not going to bed. Like
Exactly.
I got to see that. And man, it was like so. Yeah, so I got about 3 hours of sleep last night, and I'm like, man, like I don't know how much more of this I can take. So Delhi needs to just suck it up. I mean, look what we're doing.
Well, I know that Circle K is running a Monster Energy drink special
That's
where
brilliant.
it's 3 for $5. I don't know if it's a tie-in, but I know that I'm using it as a tie-in.
It is in my mind.
And I'm well stocked. But even that, after a while, like by mid afternoon today, I'm like, this coffee's just not working anymore.
Yeah,
The only thing that's going to work is some sleep.
yeah, yep.
So yeah, it's
And that's what's funny too is like so I saw where LeBron was sort of I don't know if complaining is the right word, but he kind of said, hey, this is kind of he said something like I noticed how many days off they gave Golden State at home compared to, the Cavs, at home, that the Cavs only had 1 day off in between their games. And I kind of feel the same way as LeBron. I'm like, come on, give us another day. Like I need another night
Yeah.
of good sleep to get caught up. I'm running on such a sleep deficit here. Like I can't fix this overnight.
Yeah, you got to be back at it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And that's that's where it's like, man, like, and what's funny is if the Cavs lose, like I don't watch any post game. Like as
Right.
soon as they lose, boom, TV's off. I pound a drink and I'm going to bed.
Right.
Like that's what's gonna happen. But like it's like you don't obviously you're not rooting for that though. Like I want to be sleep deprived because I don't want
Right.
that to happen. Like I want to be up till 1:30, 2 o'clock tomorrow night,
Hyped
hyped
up.
up, following all
Yep.
this analysis.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be groggy at work on Friday, pleasantly groggy and giving high fives and nods to everybody at work.
Yeah,
And
full.
because that's the other thing is the term all in has been true, and it is also, like I knew it would, that despite whether basketball is your number one sport or not, everybody that I know is interested in this.
Yeah,
My wife actually tolerates some sports talk because she knows it's important.
yeah. This team has really won over not just Cleveland, not just Ohio, even nationally. You're seeing all these people who, writing these confessionals like I was a LeBron James hater and but now even I'm rooting for this team. And they really seem to have won over a lot of people because of the way they're playing. Like they are playing so freaking hard. Like I there are more talented teams who have played in the NBA finals, sure, but I don't know that there's ever been a team that's played harder in the NBA finals than this Cavs team is right now. And
Well, well, some of the luster has also kind of come off of the Warriors because, and this isn't to throw shade or anything like that, but the the Warriors everyone thought was a group of nice classy guys
yeah,
with a nice classy coach, and so far the coach Steve Kerr has been pretty classy and a good coach,
yep,
but you've seen a little more. You saw some trash talk out of Steph Curry.
yep,
You've seen a little bit of chippiness out there.
yep,
It turns out when any team faces some adversity, sometimes as nice and as pleasant as they seemed, well, maybe it's because they were winning all the time,
yeah,
that it was easy to keep that shine on.
yep,
And all of a sudden they get into a little bit of a scrap. They get their hair mussed a little bit, and they're not the darlings that they seem to be. And I don't want to be the super homer, but even the broadcasters from ABC started out with everything that Golden State does is amazing,
hmm
and oh well, LeBron put it in, but then and then Steph Curry hits a layup and they go
yeah,
crazy, and it's probably homerism in me, but it's still, I see, like you said, that kind of national tide is turning a little bit,
hmm And
that
no,
this wasn't the Golden Boys anymore.
I think that's a great point that you just made too about the adversity thing. Golden State didn't face much of it this year. Yes, they were down 2-1 to Memphis. They were in the exact same situation that they're in right now, but I feel like that was totally different. They weren't being systematically dismantled the way they are right now,
Right.
against Memphis. Uh, so there's no doubt there's way more adversity right now than anything they've gone through um, all year long. And so I think you're right. I think when everything's going great, it is easy to be the poster boys of the NBA. And look, I'll be the first to admit the Cavs are one of the worst defenders in the NBA when it comes to complaining to the refs. The Cavs have some all-time great complainers. Andy earlier in the year, Andy's a classic, an all-time great.
Yep.
LeBron, excellent at complaining about calls. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Cavs don't do it, but my God, Golden State, I have never seen a team complain and argue about such obvious calls ever before. Like like I can't remember now who was it. Draymond Green that had a handful of Tristan Thompson's jersey on the one play, and they called the foul, and then he was sitting there just going off on the ref. Like I was like, what can you possibly be arguing? Like it's clear as day. And it's those kind of things are the things that sort of rub people the wrong way too. And I know I know the announcers picked up on it a little bit, and I've seen some national people talking about that as well. Like, Golden State is really whining about a lot of these calls, and they seem out of sorts. They're not very much fun to watch right now. And meanwhile, you've got this Cavaliers team that are the underdog, and everybody loves the underdog story, and they are playing their asses off out there. Just pouring their heart and soul into this series, and you have LeBron James just willing this team. To become something greater, and it's inspiring to watch. It's inspiring as a Cavs fan, of course, but you are seeing more and more of the national people picking up on that and just saying what a story this is, and pay attention. Like we're seeing something that we've never seen before, and if LeBron pulls this off, this is going to take his legacy out of this stratosphere. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to become something totally else. Like it's just going to change the whole discussion about LeBron James and what his career is and was and what it means, and it's just going to change everything. And the Cavs are close, and I think people want that story. Like it's like at first everybody wanted to tell this Golden State story, this great juggernaut team, this team that came out of nowhere this year and just ran all over the NBA. But now all of a sudden people are like, wait, we've got this other really freaking amazing story happening right before our eyes, and now people want to be able to tell that story. So I think that's too sort of why you're seeing that change.
Well, one of the things that I kind of said in the kind of the behind the scenes waiting for next year discussions was, if you look at the list of amazing teams that Jordan in his prime relegated to the page 2 of history, is it possible that that's what's happening now? That like the
The
Cavs of
Cavs
the
themselves,
90s,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you guys were a great team. You probably deserved better, but you ran into the buzzsaw of Jordan in his prime, and that, I think, might be happening with Golden State of, yeah, you're a great team, you did great all year, but you're just running into this unstoppable force that in the NBA playoffs, one player can do this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think that we in Cleveland would have such a person, because again, the only thing stronger than our optimistic homerism is our pessimistic homerism.
Yeah.
That nothing's ever going to happen right for us.
Well,
So,
but in talking about that though, like how like I mean, you want to talk about something that giving me just chills was LeBron's encounter with Jim Brown before the
oh
start of the
man,
game last night. Like I froze up. Like I mean, just instant wave of emotion, just realizing like, holy cow! Like yeah, like this is Jim Brown is like the connection to that era, the last time the Browns were champions, and now here's this kid from Akron playing in front of him and trying to lead this team to bring a championship back. And when he did that little bow, just oh man, I mean, I just got goosebumps. I mean, I'm getting chills just talking about it right now. Like what
yeah,
that moment meant, and you realize, like, yeah, like we need to enjoy this and really understand what we're seeing, because guys like this don't come around very often. Like
right.
it's seeing elderly Jim Brown, sitting in this crowd, you realize how long it's been, um, and we're here, we're in this moment, and we have a chance, and now we're up 2-1, like we're two wins away. It's amazing. It really, I mean, it's just we cannot we cannot afford to take any of this for granted, because it's just, I mean, this ride has been unbelievable, and it's not over yet. I'm not satisfied. I'm not
Right.
happy with where we are. Like, I want this title. I don't want to wait for next year. I want it right now, and it's so close. And I just, ooh, man, 4 more games. Just have to win 2 of the next 4 games.
Yep, we got to split with them.
Yep.
And again, I'm finding no comfort in those numbers because the more games there are, the more worn out we are.
That's right.
And
That's why I want there to only be 2 more games. Don't get me wrong. I don't,
me too.
all these people. Oh man, please give us a 7-game series of this. It's like, shut up. Like,
That's the national people who
that.
don't have a dog in the fight.
That's absolutely right. As a Cleveland fan, oh man, I can't take it. I can't do this 4 more times. Like, I don't know. I just want them to get this over with.
Well, I am going to propose if, and I'm going to say if because I'm still cautiously optimistic and don't want to be the one who jinx it. If the Cavs win the championship, I think we should muster all the microphones that we have in the world at our disposal and have as many waiting for next year podcast guests on at one time as we can and have it be one big jumbled mess
That'd be amazing.
of people trying to cut each other off.
That would be amazing. I want that.
I
want that.
Me too. So I'm proposing it now, and we'll see if Craig listens and goes for it.
Craig doesn't listen to these podcasts.
No, he hates them. He tells me all the time. He's like, "Why did I ever bring you into this?" I sent him a quick message that we were going to be recording tonight, and he's like, "Oh, great! I'll be in bed. I'll put it up in the morning."
Damn you, Craig.
Yeah, it's not. He's really slacking off on this one.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, it has been 46 minutes of great Cavs chat. It has been a pleasure talking to you tonight.
Always a pleasure to be on. So
let's rest up. Let's take a nap tomorrow.
Yep.
And be ready to bring home another victory. What do you think?
I'm ready for our mega podcast. Now I want that more than the championship.
I say I'm 50-50.
The championship was cool. I'm over that. I want the mega cast.
Well, maybe we'll do if we lose the mega morning cast where we
Oh,
interrupt
hell.
each other with how bad it was. But well, all right, Andrew. Thanks for being with me tonight. I had a good time.
Yep, great.
All right, this has been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.
Waiting for next year.